Greetings, EastEnders fans, and welcome to another episode of Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week, discussing the episodes broadcast between the 9th and the 12th of December 2024. Hello there, how are you this week? I hope you are marvellous and tickety-boo. Joining me as usual is this one. Hello, Ree, how are you this week?
Hello, Rob. I'm all right.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
I was going to say I'm starting to panic a little bit about not having bought enough Christmas presents at the minute. But
See, the thing
other
is,
than
we
that,
do this every single year, Ree. I mean, I don't know
know.
why, we never learn, do we? Christmas Eve, we're running around like headless chickens trying to find like anything to pass on to a loved relative. I put so much
Yeah,
thought into that box of Ferrero Rocher, honest to God. Yeah, it's the thought that
I know how
counts,
much
right?
you love him,
I
so
know how much you love a
I know.
half-eaten box of Ferrero Rocher. Enjoy that, won't you? Yeah, no, it's well, this is ordering online, Ree. That's the way forward these days.
I know it's just two people that I need to buy for. I'm going to try and do it after this today, and just pray that I find them something.
You
There's
don't
those people that you just don't know what to
Yeah,
get
yeah. You
something
don't need to
for.
spend more than £100 on me, Ree. That's okay. Don't worry about that.
You'll be lucky.
God, no, tell me about it. So this week's EastEnders, what a week it's been,
Oh yeah,
right? I mean,
crazy.
Linda has hit rock bottom. If there was I
Really.
didn't think there was a way for her to fall further than she already has in the past, but she managed it. My God. It led me to thinking, Ree, what
Yeah.
is the most drunk you have ever been that you were willing to
God,
share on the
no.
podcast? That's
I was thinking
broadcastable.
that. Most well.
Yeah,
Do you remember when we were at uni? There were these
vaguely.
organised nights out. I don't think you went on them actually. They
No,
used
it
to do
sounds
like
a bit too
Christmas nights
organised to
out
me.
and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Carnage. They used to do Carnage. It was like that, but it was like a special one. Anyway, it was a Christmas night out, and
Right.
we got a T-shirt and we got the Santa hats.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't realise, but I got red listed from those nights, and I wasn't allowed to go to them ever again. And I couldn't tell you
No
really
idea
why,
why,
other
what
than
you
I was
said,
really drunk.
who you punched. You got no
No,
idea. No.
I didn't, but I'm sure it wasn't anything too bad. I think it was just that I
Mm,
got really drunk, but to a
I've
point that
seen
I
you
got a
drunk.
red listed from a student
I've
night.
seen you
So,
drunk and argumentative, Ree. I wouldn't mark it off the list completely.
and do you know what? He has my back every time.
Oh, all the
So do you
time.
know what?
Come
I'll
on
never
then.
forget that guy asking me for a
Start with you.
cheesesteak. You being like, you
we went to
what?
we went into a kebab shop and this guy was just mildly irritating Ree, asking her to buy him a cheeseburger because he'd spent all his money. He wasn't exactly
No,
causing you
no,
that much.
he had just like severely insulted me just
Oh, had
before
he?
it as
Oh,
well.
right. And then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
burst.
and
And then I
you
burst
just
in.
that bit.
No, I didn't know the context. As far as I was concerned, he was just in my
No.
way to the counter. Oi, you! Leave her alone. Move! And just sort of barge my way in. That wasn't the most drunk I'd ever been, though. The most drunk I've ever been. Right. Was when I was about 17. Okay. Me and my friend used to work at the local supermarket, and we decided to go out after work. We'd done like a 2 till 10 shift or something. And so we went out to the club, still in our uniforms, just and that night I discovered for the first time, because I was only 17, shouldn't even have been in the club, I discovered the double shot. I didn't know they existed. Obviously, I'd had
Ooh.
shots before. I'd had sambuca before. Never in my life had I thought I could have a double sambuca. My God. I have a vague recollection of being escorted to a taxi by two complete strangers singing the national anthem. And then the bad thing was though about that night was that I got home. My mum found me wrapped around the radiator. No idea why I was wrapped around the radiator. And then the really really bad thing, genuinely bad, is that when I woke up, there was sick on my pillow. I'd thrown up in my sleep. I could have died. I could have died.
Robbie could have done a
I could
Billy
have done a
Jackson.
Billy.
That could have been
Genuinely could have done a Billy.
serious.
Could have done a Billy Jackson. So ever since then, I've never got like I've been hammered, of course. I've gotten drunk, but
Yeah,
never to
but
the
not
point where
that.
I'm like absolutely, completely and utterly
Yeah.
incapable of functioning as a human being. Like,
Mm.
because I could have died, Ray. Could have died. This podcast could
See?
not have existed if that night had turned that way. Tell you,
And it shows you the light side and the dark side of alcohol, that does,
doesn't it?
Rob, doesn't
From
it?
from the
It
national
does. Just
anthem
like EastEnders this
to
week.
nearly dying, just like EastEnders. There
Mm-hmm.
we are then. Feel
Mm-hmm.
free to share your drunk stories in the comment section below. Why not? No judgment here. Right, so shall we crack on with this week's EastEnders?
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's do it. So obviously, the main storyline this week was addiction, really, wasn't it? Sort of the three addicts of the square sort of coming together by the end of the week. So there was only a few other minor storylines to discuss apart from that. The biggest of which, I would argue, was a completely and utterly random and unannounced surprise return at the start of the
Yeah.
week. Right? Only Mickey, Mr. Joe Swash turned up. What the hell?
Was not
Was
expecting
not
that, but
expecting that.
absolutely loved it.
Don't we love an unannounced return rate? I mean, I get it. It's
Yes.
not the show's fault a lot of the time, but oh my god, it's so good when we get them, isn't it? Because it was
Yeah,
like this
definitely.
this man just got out of the car. And it was like, who the hell's that? And I was trying to reel through my like knowledge of what I knew was going to happen this week. I was like, I have no idea who that is. The last thing I expected was Joe Swash's grinning mug staring back at me when the camera panned up. I tell you, nice to see him though.
Had a, yeah, very nice. And do you know what? I think like these days we're so used to him being Joe Swash that
Yeah,
you kind of forget how Mickey he was. But he did a really good job of being Mickey and not Joe Swash, I thought.
I mean, I'd argue
Oh,
there's
did
not
you
that much.
not?
Well, no, I thought he was. I thought he was perfectly fine. It came across as Mickey-like as I ever seem to remember. But the thing is,
Yeah.
I've had having watched Joe Swash now as a presenter for so long, I don't really know what I don't know like how many differences there are between Joe Swash's personality and Mickey's personality. Really, like they're both kind of quite
I
cheeky
know what you
chappies,
mean.
quite funny, quite
Yeah.
energetic. You know, it's not like he had to pull out
But
an
I felt like,
accent.
yeah, I know what you're saying, but I did feel like I was watching Mickey, not
Yeah,
Joe
yeah, absolutely.
Swash.
Oh, yeah, no,
So you did,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it is harder as well sometimes when you're kind of just playing an exaggerated version of yourself. But I didn't
Yeah.
feel like we were watching Joe. I felt like we were watching Mickey.
Yeah, but it was
Told
lovely to
Mickey
see him.
Miller.
And some really nice scenes between him and Mo. It's been a
Yes.
while since I've watched a lot of Mickey's stuff, but I do remember him and Mo having a really, really lovely relationship, kind of similar to the one that maybe Alfie and Freddie have these days. That sort of ilk.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, and they sort of ducked and dived together and sort of got each other into different scrapes, very often sort of like comedy storylines. But it was really nice to sort of have them have that moment. Mo's had a few
Hmm.
moments this year, hasn't she, of like having someone close to her and then losing them again, which is kind of quite a sad thing for
Yeah.
Mo, bless her. And it was quite, I thought, an interesting juxtaposition that she was sat there just kind of pushing her shopping trolley along the square whilst he went off in his car back to because Mickey has sort of made it in the world. He's got like suits and his
Hmm.
managers and wife and kids and all that kind of thing. And Mo was just kind of stood there watching him drive away, waving goodbye, tear rolling down her face as she pushed her little shopping trolley around the square. I thought that was quite sad.
Yeah, it was a bit, but I think she's still happy for him, isn't she? It
Yeah,
was
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It were even funnier though after because when he was like, oh, business is booming now thanks to the calendar. And she was like, it's not even giving me a cut. And I did think, to be fair, he could have given her
Yeah,
maybe
it
a
could have
little.
given her
Do you know
could have
what I
given
mean?
her a bit of a cut, yeah, for
Rubbing
sure.
salt
Back
in the wound, Mickey.
if he'd still been around, Mo would have said, you can hand 25% of that over for a start, thank you very much. Um
Mm.
so yeah, that was all fun. It was all nice. Mickey, we got to see Joe Swash naked, which I'm sure a lot of people quite enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
got
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
he's
yeah.
still got a nice body to be fair to him. He has. Yeah, fair. Since he was king of the jungle, he used to be topless quite a lot in the jungle. I remember that, and his body hasn't
Did you?
changed
I
that
don't remember
much.
that.
Yeah, so
All right, okay. That's
2000
lovely
and
for Joe Swash. I'm
not that
happy
I
for him.
have, not that I have like a mental memory of every single half-naked male
No,
reality
of
TV
course not. Of
contestant at
course
all.
not, Rob.
No, no, no,
You're
no.
safe.
But obviously they're doing the calendar. Mo's getting on with
Yeah.
that. Kim, meanwhile, is sort of trucking along trying to sort out this choir. And
Yes.
that very much clearly is going to involve everybody who's not in the middle of a storyline at the moment, sort of singing something at
Yeah.
Christmas, isn't it? So that's all right.
Yeah.
That was kind of quite
Yeah.
nice. Nice to see Felix again, because let's be honest, Felix gets bugger all to do. So at least he got some stuff. He'll be involved in that.
I I thought that, and I loved the like little. I know it was a tiny interaction, but when
Between
he
him and
just did her
Penny.
kiss, I would just. I know it was between him and Kim when she
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
saying, "You don't have to be Welsh to be Welsh. You don't have to be a
Mm.
man to be a man, or male to be a male." And you're like, "Okay, sister," and I'm like, "I want more of this. I
I
want
know
more
he's
of you, actually, Felix. You've got so much
yeah.
potential there."
I think Matthew Robinson has really good comic timing.
Yeah, he has. He has. We're not utilizing him anywhere near
No,
enough.
and
There's so much potential for a character like
him
that.
and Kim could be a really good comedy pairing together because they're both
Yeah,
camp as hell, like
yeah.
unashamedly. So it'd be really,
Hmm.
really good to sort of see a kind of comedy pairing happening. Give him something to do, for goodness sake. Why not?
Maybe we'll get that over Christmas. Maybe that's
I
the
hope
start of it
so.
with this choir, hopefully. Yeah, that'd be
I
great
hope
if it
so. I
was.
hope so. So yeah, there we are then. So that was just another kind of unannounced return that we kind of have had in the run up to the anniversary. We knew we were going to get some of these. Do you think we're going to, like, considering how unexpected Mickey returning was? Like, obviously, we've all got like ones in our heads where we think, I bet something, Grant or something is going to come back at some point.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
there any returns, kind of underrated returns that you think could happen or that you'd like to happen? Like a character from the past
Oh,
that you kind of think, ooh, what if they showed up randomly?
well, original Michelle Fowler would be the
The
number one, wouldn't
Toldster,
it?
the Toldster.
Mm-hmm,
If it's going to
mm-hmm.
happen, it's going to be for the 40th, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Other than that, I'm trying to think of. Oh no, we can't. I was thinking. I don't know why, but I just love Martine McCutcheon. But obviously that can't
She's
happen
dead.
because
Well,
she
not
died
Martine
on
McCutcheon's.
screen. So
Martine
there's
McCutcheon's not dead.
absolutely. Yeah, no, obviously
Tiffany's
not.
dead. Tiffany
Tiffany
got
is.
squished by
Tiffany
Frank.
very much so.
Yeah.
Do you know who I would like to see return?
Go on.
Bianca, because
Oh
like
yeah.
we've not really heard anything or seen anything about all that since
And
he
you know,
locked her away.
no, and I don't think we will be doing throughout the entire Christmas period either. I've not seen anything remotely like referring to the Reese Bianca Sonia stuff
Wow.
throughout the entirety of Christmas or New Year. I'm assuming it's gonna like because obviously I think New Year is gonna be all about the Panisar. So I'm assuming once that's happened, I assume we'll then be going back to the Reese stuff, which will mean that Bianca will have been locked up for well over a month before we see her again.
Easily.
That's
Maybe
quite
two
crazy.
by the time we
Yeah.
see her.
By the time we get there, that's going to be mental. But then we'll be going into the anniversary. So does that mean that
Yeah,
Reese is going to have quite a big part in the anniversary? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Because it's,
I
sort
think
of.
so. Yeah, Reese and Bianca.
Hmm.
Martin can fit into that as well,
Martin.
so you can have
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
of
yeah.
Martin in that and with the Ruby
Yeah.
stuff, mate. Maybe Reese is going to kill Ruby.
Could be. Could be.
Martin will figure it all out,
Yeah.
and then Reese is going to want to kill the mother of
Yeah.
Martin's child, or Ruby's just going to somehow get wrapped up in it all. See,
It's
cracked
really,
jokes, there you
really
go.
weird because with the anniversary now only being just over 2 months away, which is crazy, isn't it? And we still don't really like. Been a few sort of leaks and spoilers sort of thrown out there. Maybe that
Hmm.
if you want to find them, you know where they are. You know which paper will have done it. I can tell you that for nothing. Um, and so we've kind of got a kind of vague idea what might be happening, but certainly not what character groups are involved in it. And it won't just be that happening either. There'll be all sorts of stuff kicking off.
Mm.
So it's quite nice to sort of not have a clue what's going on, but at the same time it's sort of like what the hell is going on? It's really, really weird. So there we are then. But nice return for Mickey, and I look forward to seeing some sort of more returns as we get closer to the anniversary, and they'll definitely be coming, let me tell you. Right, ladies and gents, next story. The only other minor storyline that kicked off right at the end of the week was with Martin and Ruby. It turns out that Martin's liver is probably going to be needed because Roman has taken a bit of a turn, sort of not reacting well to the drugs that he's on. So this transplant is happening. It's actually kind of going to go ahead. Him and Ruby are sort of at loggerheads, but then I think by the end of the week they're sort of at a bit of a sort of ceasefire, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they seem to have made amends and realizing that actually they probably need each other because they both care about Roman. And I do
Yeah,
feel like Martin is genuine now. Actually, I feel like
yeah.
he has had a switch. But hopefully they're not going to need. Am I right in thinking they don't need Martin's liver? They've found a donor. They just got to run some tests.
Oh,
They
I thought
said.
that I've clearly missed all that. I thought that Martin's liver was that this was it. He was going to have to give it.
Yeah, I think it. No, I'm sure he offered it up, and then she said, "Oh, he offered it to Ruby," and then they said, "Oh, we found a donor. We've just got to run some tests." So then they've
Oh,
got
so
to see if
it
the tests are okay. So it might not be Martin's that they actually need. I
right,
think.
but it still might be.
Um, but yeah, there's still a chance if
Well, I
these
don't know
tests don't go
because
okay.
I feel like it's going to cement Martin's sort of dedication to Roman if he ends up actually going through with the transplant himself because he's sort of like I saved his life. He needs to be in my life. I'm
Mhm.
I'm keeping this kid alive essentially.
And
Um,
Ruby will be forever grateful, obviously, as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just, it's not going in the direction I thought it was going to. The storyline, I don't think, because
Mm.
already they seem to be at a sort of ceasefire. They sort of seem to be on the same page where they should be, kind of reluctantly, but they're there. Certainly, plenty of
Mm.
time for them to sort of become softer to each other before we get anywhere close to where we thought this was going.
There's time yet, though. They
Yeah.
might be making amends and being there for each other whilst they get through this worst bit, and then afterwards, who knows? Maybe Martin will still say, "I want some form of custody," which Ruby's not going to be okay with.
Mm,
But for now, yeah, ceasefire. I mean, it does feel right as well because I think even if Martin did still feel that strongly, even he would be like, yeah, you know what? He's
Mm.
seriously ill now. I don't think that's important in this exact
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So,
The
yeah,
politics of our past relationship is so unimportant compared to this kid's like
yeah,
life and death situation right now. Yeah,
yeah.
but what will happen is that if Martin does go through with his transplant, he's gonna be saying, "Well, you're putting my name on that birth certificate, then, yeah, yeah." And Ruby can't really argue with that, I don't think, can she?
I don't think so. And yeah, I don't think that she can with that.
I don't think
And I
she
just
can.
think it's a shame to cut out, like, I think no matter what, I don't know. I know that the relationship's complicated and everything, but like, he's a good dad, so I think
Mm,
like she should just include him, like, for
yeah,
Roman's sake as well, more than Martin's, to be honest. He's got a dad who actually wants to, step up for his kid, then why would
yeah.
you
I
stop
mean,
it?
he has been an arsehole about it up to this point, I think. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair, fair. Yeah, the way he
you
said
know,
about it up
I
until
kind
now,
of
yeah,
the
all
way
right,
he's gone
yeah.
about it all. I kind
Yeah,
of at the start was sort of understanding what he meant, but
yeah,
by the end of it, where he was sort of like just being just an absolute arsehole about the whole
yeah,
thing. It's sort of like you've
fair.
got no leg
Yeah,
to stand on here, Martin,
yeah.
whatsoever. And why the hell would she add you to the birth certificate? Like,
Yeah, no, yeah, I forgot
you're
about
giving
all
her
that. Yeah.
literally no
Yeah,
reason to whatsoever right
yeah,
now. But
yeah.
handing over a bit of handing over a vital organ or some of a vital organ, that's kind of a good reason to stick someone on a birth certificate, I would say.
Maybe though, it is all going to go well. Maybe they are
Mm.
just going to make up. And like I say, Ruby and Martin are going to get along. They're going to start co-parenting in some way, and then Martin's going to figure out that Reese has locked Bianca up. And like I said, then Reese is going to go for Ruby, and that's why Ruby dies on the 40th. Bish bash bosh.
Bish bash bosh,
Writes
maybe
itself.
writes itself. It's like it feels like it's been put through an AI machine to get there, but maybe it writes itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
you never know, you never know. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Right then, ladies and gents, the main theme of this week was addiction, and three addicts kind of stepped forward into the limelight this week. No more so than Linda, but we'll start off with Lauren. So, firstly, we'll talk about Lauren's addiction problems, which sort of really began to build up a little bit this week. It was so fascinating in the way that they framed all this addiction stuff this week. I absolutely loved it. Like, specifically Wednesday's episode, which
Mm,
was so well written and so well put together. Um, and you kind of forget that Lauren had as bad alcohol issues as Linda's currently going through, don't you? Like, and it kind of makes sense that they've sort of put these pills now onto her just to sort of go along with the addictive personality, and sort of given
yes.
her that separate problem while she's advising Linda about something that still is addicted to, but used to have really, really bad problems with. I thought it was a really fascinating way of framing it.
What I thought was interesting as well is that Lauren's current addiction is a functional addiction.
Yeah,
So, like, at what point would it be that she takes too many of these painkillers where she's unfunctional? Because at one point, Linda would be in a functional alcoholic,
she
but she's
was. Yeah,
completely hit rock bottom and doesn't
yeah.
even care and's just being. Whereas Lauren is very much, in fact, if anything, she appears more coherent when she's taking the painkillers these days because obviously she's suffering withdrawal, not coherent, but
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's
she's suffering
weird
the
with
withdrawals when she's not on them, isn't she? So,
yeah, a pain addiction a painkiller addiction is a sort of weird one to sort. I don't think it's one of those things that you can immediately see per se. Like obviously
yeah,
Linda wobbling all around because like, oh, Linda's pissed,
yeah,
right? Fair enough. But something like Lauren's got, it's sort of more difficult to sort of see because in Lauren's brain, it's sort of like, well, I'm in pain. Please stop it. And when I'm in pain, I can go about my normal life. So it's completely like the sort of parallel opposite to what Linda's going through at the moment. It's kind of interesting, and thereby it's a lot more of a private battle for Lauren than it is for
mm,
Phil when he's pissed or Linda when she's pissed. It's like it's a when those two are drunk, specifically Phil and Linda, like they are extreme, and it's really
yeah.
public and humiliating for both of them. Whereas Lauren, only Cindy really knows about this, so it's sort of a really
Mm.
fascinating more intimate look at addiction rather than something as sort of big and flamboyant almost as Linda's one is.
Do you know what? When you were just saying that, I just thought it's interesting actually, the parallels of pain because they were like
Mm,
when Linda were talking about her pain and Phil and Lauren were saying, "Oh well, an addict's pain is always worse than another's," and then you think actually, Lauren is that like what Lauren? Because Lauren's is physical pain, though, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Do you know what I'm?
interesting.
Do you know what I'm getting at?
I've got to be honest with you. I'm still not entirely convinced that there's not something else going on with her. And like, yeah, I know what you mean by the fact
Yeah.
that the pain, the addiction to the painkillers is sort of giving her a sort of ghost pain, so to speak. But
Mm.
I don't think it's just that. I feel like there's something else definitely going on with her because again, even when she had the pills this week, she was still like,
Mm-hmm.
and she could have taken them at any time. Technically,
Mm-hmm.
she was still like kind of wincing and really in sort of agony. So I feel
Well,
like something else is going on with her.
maybe now there is something going on with the baby because if you think about it, she had the scan. When she had the scan, I think she'd just been on the, was it Kirkerdamol that she was
Yeah,
on? Then after the scan, I think is when Cindy started upping it and giving her these street
whatever
painkillers.
these are. Yeah, we still don't know what these
She's
are.
no, she's not been checked since then, and now she's getting cramps
It is
since she's
so.
taken these. Is it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it is.
now
The thing
taking
is,
effect.
it is so stupid of Lauren to at no point have turned around to Cindy and go, "What are these?" Like, that's insane. And does Cindy know Lauren's pregnant yet?
No.
I mean, fair, because if she did, then down to hell with you, bitch. But it's I think it's insane of Lauren not to really be questioning what these drugs actually are. The fact that Cindy is getting them off a drug dealer and she's taking them
Hmm.
quite willingly, knowing that she's pregnant, knowing that she's in pain, and especially when you consider that there was a quite sizable chunk this week where she was conscious of the fact that she couldn't feel the baby kicking and she was still taking the
Yes.
pills. That is so insane that she was at that stage. So
Well, and
arguably
then
she's
she.
at the
Mm,
same sort of level as Linda is right now, but at a sort of in a different sort of universe with it.
it's funny though, isn't it? Because it's like when she did eventually feel the baby kick, that's when
She
it
was in
became more
pain.
real to her. Was she in
Yes,
pain?
I feel like they saw like when the baby started kicking, I felt that she sort of started wincing a little bit more.
Oh, did she? I didn't notice that.
But then what you also you're right, that was sort of what made her chuck the pills down the sink in the end.
Yeah.
So but now she's got rid of the pills. It's all very well having that big old statement of right, that's it, I'm done. Like how many times
Yeah.
has an addict said that to themselves? No
Mm.
offense, like it's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
that you can turn around and say that, but it's actions speak louder than words, and actions are a hell of a lot more difficult with them words when you're in. I'm finding words difficult, and I'm not even an addict at the moment.
But
You know what
could
I mean, though?
the withdrawals also damage the baby? Because surely just
Possibly,
coming off
yeah,
like that, would she maybe need to be coming
yeah.
off them a bit slower than
Weaning
that rather
herself off them a
than
little bit, yeah.
yeah.
It's
I
insane that she's
mean,
not going to a
oh,
doctor. Even if she goes on her own and says, "Look, I've been doing this, and I'm concerned now. Like, can you help me sort myself out here?" Like, I get it. She's sort of trying to pretend that she's sticking her fingers in her ears and
mm,
pretending that everything's fine when she knows full well that it isn't,
hmm.
and sort of
I
pushing
mean,
Peter away
also
at every given opportunity.
it was so like that she'd not been feeling the movement. So I'm
Mm,
guesstimating now how far along she is based on
okay,
all of this.
right.
So usually it'd be about 16 weeks, which is 4 months pregnant, where you'd feel the first movements of
Okay.
baby. But if you've been pregnant before, they say it can be a bit sooner because your body's more aware of what they feel like.
Oh, okay.
So I'm guesstimating that she's somewhere between 12 and 18 weeks pregnant, roughly, I would
Okay.
guess. So at this point, if she's then been taking these stronger street painkillers,
Yeah,
there's definitely got to be some damage, which I think you might be right. Now she's getting these cramps. Is something going on around the baby now that she's been
I think.
causing damage, especially not knowing what you're taking?
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I don't think she's going to have this baby. At the moment, I feel like she's heading
No.
towards a miscarriage. I really, really do. I mean, obviously, that's going to damage her and Peter because of what Lauren's been
Mm,
doing. Obviously, it adds another bomb on top of the Cindy reveal on Christmas Day. But on its own, that's quite a devastating thing for both Peter and Lauren to be going through.
yeah. I think it'd
Especially
be
as
classed as
Peter
a
has been trying so hard to help her, and she just keeps
yeah.
shouting at him and pushing him away. Like there's only so long that she can keep that up for, and just be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm pregnant. Leave me alone." What am I like? I'm pregnant. You know what hormones are like. She can't keep doing that.
I wonder if when it all gets revealed, Peter's anger is just going to be all aimed at Cindy instead of Lauren. Maybe he's going to be a bit more understanding of her addiction issues and not as, I
I
don't know, or we just blame them both equally.
I think he'll blame them both equal. I think he'll be absolutely livid with Lauren. I think he will be.
Yeah.
Cindy, she didn't know that Lauren's pregnant, so she's got that sort of very veiled
Yeah, true.
defense of it. Whereas Lauren obviously knew that she was pregnant, knew what was going on, knew what she was feeling. I could see him being absolutely apocalyptic with rage with her, to be honest. But
Yeah. sorry. Also, how like evil was Cindy when Lauren was like asking for him, and being like, "What's the magic word?" Like,
I did laugh.
Cindy,
I did laugh.
stop,
I did laugh. This is the thing.
stop. I
Because
mean,
we know that the comeuppance is coming, it makes these
mhm.
moments a lot more satisfying because I'm sort of laughing at her knowing that she's going to be falling flat on her face soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Especially
know
when
what
she
you
turned
mean.
around and said to Lauren, I would ask you to take a chill pill, but you'd probably pop all of them. I thought that was
You
a brilliant line.
do love Cindy, though. I
Oh,
do
she's
love
great.
her.
And I tell you what, another another tick for a Brian Kirkwood script on Wednesday, which is what all those
Ah,
lines were. They were that was Wednesday was such a strong episode, and again another Brian Kirkwood triumph. I thought like his scripts
mhm.
are a real treat when they come. They're really really good. Um, what do we think of Ian's line? Because I was good of that episode. When he stood at the door dressed as Santa. Ho ho ho! Lauren slammed the door in his face, and he walked into the living room and said, "Oh, has Auntie Flo come to visit? What do we think of that?"
I mean,
Such an Ian thing to say. It's such an Ian
very,
thing to say.
very,
It's
yeah.
yes, it's a sexist thing to say, but I like it when the
It
show
is
does
very on
that.
brand. It
It's
is
I
on
love it.
brand for
I love it
Ian.
when the show
Yeah,
does that. Just doesn't
yeah,
sort of shy away from the fact that Ian would say that. I love it
yeah.
when they do that and get away with that. Brilliant.
I kind of laugh, to be honest,
Yeah,
even though, yeah, like outrageous to say, but yeah,
yeah,
very Ian,
I
of
thought it
course.
was funny. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, where does it leave the Lauren and Cindy dynamic from here, do you think? Because I almost thought that Cindy was sort of batting Lauren's suspicions about her away a little bit this week. It's almost as though Lauren was getting so distracted by what she was going through personally that she was almost forgetting about why she was in the situation in the first place with Cindy.
I think Cindy's now gone. I've got the upper hand now. No matter what
Yeah,
you say, I know how addicted you are to these
yeah,
painkillers, so it don't matter. I've got a bigger secret on you now, so
yeah.
I'm laughing. I've not got anything to worry about. I think that's how Cindy's viewing it. But this is how it's all going to come crashing down on her, isn't it? She's going to
Mm.
get too confident and too cocky with everything, Cindy. Sure already is. So yeah,
She she will be able if she never finds out if she doesn't find out till Christmas Day that Lauren's pregnant when this all comes out, she has got the defense of you never told me you were pregnant, otherwise I never would have given you those pills. That will be the first thing she says, whether she means
yeah,
it or
true.
not. Half of me kind of thinks the way Cindy is at the minute, I kind of think that she would have still done this if she knew that Lauren was pregnant, you know?
Possibly, yeah, because she wouldn't have wanted Lauren to have another one of Peter's
No,
children or something, potentially. Yeah.
or well,
Would
not even
she?
that. Not even that. I don't think she would have. I don't think it. I don't think she's that bothered about Lauren and Peter being together. She doesn't particularly like Lauren, but there's not a lot she can do about it. But I just feel that she wouldn't have let the fact that Lauren's pregnant stop her from blackmailing her like this.
Yeah, yeah, from Lauren trying to keep Lauren to keep her secret for her. Yeah,
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 yeah.
possibly. Yeah.
I can't wait. I
Oh
cannot
God.
wait till Christmas Day. By the way, we've had a trailer and a promo
Oh.
picture, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that
Come on.
promo picture. I absolutely love that promo picture. If you haven't seen it, I'll pop it on YouTube now. And for audio listeners, if you haven't seen it, basically it's the Knights and the Beals around the Vic Christmas table. That Cindy is standing at the head of a table. It's basic. The vibe basically is Knights versus Beals, isn't it? Like they're all sort of glaring at
Yes.
each other, except Junior, who is staring at Cindy, which I thought was a really nice detail. Something that I didn't notice, someone else pointed out online. At the top of the table is, when you've got all your cutlery and stuff, there's a little shovel. Now, I don't know what
Oh.
Christmas implement that would be for. So, does that mean someone's going to die?
No, maybe it's just like Cindy's digging a deeper hole for herself,
Maybe,
right?
maybe, or
Maybe.
her own grave. Who knows?
Oh, maybe. Oh,
I
I didn't notice that.
The thing is, the Christmas Day trailer got me excited because it confirms like it's coming out at Christmas Day and it's going to be epic. And but it doesn't tell you a huge amount, so I feel like there's
No.
going to be a lot that we don't really know about Christmas Day that's going to be kicking off, and maybe that shovel is the first clue towards it. Who
Oh,
knows?
maybe.
Who knows?
Is it
2
on the
weeks.
trailer where we see the little memory stick?
Yes, yes,
It says,
that hasn't made an
play this
appearance
for
yet.
some,
Festive
play this for
cheer.
some festive
Festive
cheer.
cheer for all or something like that
Lauren,
it says. That's
right?
got
We've
to be
got the whole
Lauren.
Max Stacey
Yeah, yeah,
parallels.
yeah,
It's got
yeah.
to be
Of
Lauren.
course. Lauren loves doing this. It'll be the third
Yeah,
time she's done something like this. I can't remember quite why
yeah.
she did it the first time. Old Lauren did this once. And yeah, this will be Lauren
The first
loves
time Lauren
sticking
did it,
incriminating
played
evidence.
She played a video recording, didn't
Yeah,
she, of
she did.
Stacey on her
Yeah.
wedding
No,
day
no,
with
she's done it. She'd
Max.
done it before then as well. I can't remember why she did it, but
Oh,
she's done something
oh,
like this before the famous Max and Stacey reveal.
oh.
Something else had happened. I can't remember what it was. I remember seeing
Okay.
it when I watched the 2007 uploads. I was like, oh, she's not her first rodeo by the time we get to Christmas. Then fair play. But Lauren loves doing this. Loves finding incriminating evidence and sticking it on something that everybody's going to see, everybody's going to hear. So yeah, I agree. Lauren has got to be the one that sticks it on that memory stick, unless Ian does it. So,
Could be.
can't wait to find out. Right, ladies and gents. Now let's move on to Phil. So Phil. Now,
Mhm.
before we properly discuss Phil, let's have a little brief discussion about Miss Nicola Mitchell, shall we? Um, I think we might have a new villain in the making here. The way that she was
Yeah.
this week, I think they might be building her up to be sort of like the next super bitch of the show. What do you think?
Oh, the new Janine, perhaps.
Possibly in that sort of vein. She'll never be Janine because no one ever will be
Of
Janine.
course. Of
Of course, but not a bad second place. I feel like she could move up to for sure.
I loved it, but I hated it as well because I was
Yeah,
like, oh, you go too far there, you don't
this
you?
is the thing. Like, it's all very well, like being a bitch to Sharon and having like a rivalry because she's still in
Yeah.
love with Teddy and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Isn't it weird? As soon as, and I feel like there's even some characters on the square that you'd be like, yeah, fair, fair. But doing that to Phil felt like a step up, didn't it? And no other character other than Phil, I think, would have got that reaction. Do you know what I mean? Like
I don't
if she'd done it to Lauren, I don't think I would have been quite so, oh my god, you're a bitch moment than giving it to Phil, who we know could die. You know?
I think it's that we know that he could die, but I think us as viewers have never seen Phil that vulnerable. So then to see this new bitch who we
Yeah,
really
yeah,
know come in
yeah,
and do that to Phil, we're like, oh
yeah,
no, you didn't. Do you know Phil? Do you know anything about Phil? This is not Phil. You think he's
yeah.
just having a bad time. No, no, no. This is
Oh,
bad when Phil's like
a bad
this.
time where he's left a few pizza boxes and a few plates around the kitchen. My
Right.
God, if she walked into
Sorry.
my kitchen sometimes, she'd call the Priory if she thought that was bad. My God, you know what I mean? I didn't think
Yeah,
it
I
was
was
that
like,
bad.
is that it?
That
Is
bad
that it? It's like a
is that
few
is that
plates. I know.
is that
Does
bad?
that
There's a
say
few
something about
plates
us?
and he hasn't emptied the bins.
I mean,
Oh
like it
dear.
wasn't tidy, but it
No,
wasn't like
I
dirty.
got
Like
the
they
vibe they
were,
were going for, but like I've seen worse.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
lived in worse.
same.
When we were at uni, I've
Have
lived
you
in
ever
much
you ever
worse.
visited student
I,
halls?
they're all mad, they're all alcoholics, and they're all on the edge, are they? Yeah, by that logic. Yeah.
Well, actually, though, to be fair, probably are
Some
the
of them are. Some of
students.
them
Yeah,
definitely are. We
yeah,
dealt with it fine, We just went to the pub. Soon as
exactly.
things
So
got
you
too
know,
stressful, screw this, off to the pub, which
the pub.
explains a lot. But
Yes.
yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting that like that seems to be a moment where it's like, oh, okay, that's what Nicola is. Okay, it seems to be
Mm,
a good indication of what they're planning on doing with Nicola as a character moving forwards. That she did that this week because
yeah.
it didn't like not even a moment's sort of hesitation about it. Heard that Phil was an alcoholic and then literally turned to the whiskey bottle that was on the desk and just smiled. Like, not a bother on her. Absolutely not a bother on
No,
her. Fun.
it's like her and Teddy both share this
Mm.
really good skill of being able to read people and make it work
Yes,
to
it's
their
interesting, isn't it?
advantage.
Yeah.
However, Teddy uses it in a good way. So
Yes,
he'll
uses
try
his
and
powers for good.
almost
Yes.
butter people up, or
Yeah, yeah,
like when
yeah.
he ran that fundraiser. Whereas Nicola's going, I can read people well. How can I use that to my advantage and do
Yeah,
something
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
underhand?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that that's probably how they've worked in their relationship throughout
Absolutely,
these
yeah.
years. And then Teddy's actually gone, do you know what? I've had enough. Because even though I do think that Teddy has definitely got a dark side,
Mm.
he wouldn't do something like that. There's absolutely no way that he would go and deliver a bottle of whiskey to an alcoholic.
No, and this is the thing. I don't think Teddy has a dark side per se. I think he's just got a Mitchell side, and we've spoken about this before. The
Yeah,
difference
yeah, yeah, yeah.
between a
Yeah.
villain and a
Yes,
Mitchell,
yeah.
which is so
Yeah.
individually EastEnders, it's not even funny. But like,
Yes,
I feel
yeah.
like Teddy is like the illustration of what you would expect a
Mhm.
Mitchell to be: charming,
Yeah.
but could turn on a dime when needed. As we've kind of
Yeah.
seen with
Yeah.
Ravi and with all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, talking to Ravi, there was a little moment between Nicola and Ravi this week. What did you think? Spark or?
And is he selling her drugs?
So Nicola is taking, I'm assuming because he dangled Barney over a railway bridge, Nicola has now
Yeah.
decided to be taking a cut out of the money he's earning from drug dealing. So
Right.
that's
Okay.
going on. But
That's what it is.
I don't know. I just got a sense that this week there was a little bit of a free shot between them. Which, if that means we're also getting a Priya Nicola feud, I am
Oh
all here
wow.
for.
Surely he's got enough going on with the Denise stuff though, right? Or is Denise going to see him with Nicola?
Yeah, maybe.
And then she'll get jelly. And then you've got Priya as well who's in the mix. Is he going to have
Yeah,
three?
yeah.
Ooh.
It's
And
this.
also, if Ravi gets with Nicola, then he might find out about Zach's history because obviously
Mm,
Ravi and Zach are quite good friends as well, aren't they? So
yeah.
then that might turn into another
Yes,
little.
that's true. Yes, 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 yes. Because there was another little sort of not nothing huge, but like a little touch between Zach and I think you're absolutely right about the kid thing. By the way, Barney is so Zach's kid. I'm convinced now. It will not. Yeah, I
So,
good. Fully fair. I will give you that. I genuinely think that's where the plot is going. So that's going to be
mm,
revealed at some point. But with Nicola, I'm fascinated by her. I think it's gonna. I'm glad about it. You know, she's just going to be one of these people that comes in and is just a bitch, and I'm fine with that. You know, I think the show.
fantastic actor as well,
Oh,
by the way.
brilliant
Like props
actor,
to her.
Laura Doddington.
Absolutely
Absolutely.
spot on.
Yeah, she's been
Spot
cast so
on.
well,
Yeah.
and she's
Very
slotted in
well.
so well as well. It feels like she's been there for years,
Mm,
doesn't it? Like it doesn't
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like yes, it's a new character, and we're sort of having that fun moment where we discover that this character, what she's about, what makes her tick, and all that kind of thing. We're still to sort of scratch away at her, but I think like the main bulk of her is going to be she'll do anything and she doesn't care, which that's great entertainment. Bring it on. Can't wait.
Imagine
Um,
her and Cindy pairing up for
yeah.
something at some point. That might be
Well,
quite the duo.
this was my other another question I was going to raise. So,
Hmm.
would you think about like because obviously we describe Cindy as a bit of a bitch at the
Yeah.
moment these days, and now we're describing Laura,
Nicola.
Nicola. That's like Laura. I was getting confused with her. Nicola as a bit of a bitch, and Priya's got that side to her. So, what are the like? Are we gonna like? What we're gonna have like sort of these three
Yeah.
really sort of not similar because they're all quite individual in that sense, but they've all got a some. They're all capable of having that role in the show. So, do you think that it's going
Mm.
to be a case of they're going to clash, or they're going to do anything together, or they're just going to be very separate in their different roles in the show?
Well, like you say, perhaps Nicola and Priya might start having a bit of rivalry
Yeah.
because, like you're saying, with the Ravi thing, because there definitely is something with Nicola and
Mm.
Ravi as well. I agree. Cindy and Nicola, I don't see how they would interact at this stage, though,
No.
really. I'm trying to think how they might cross paths or maybe I don't know though, because like if Nicola did sleep with Zach all those years ago, you'd assume that she was still with Teddy. Maybe she's got a
Yeah.
similar side to her, like Cindy with the affairs, and
Yeah.
maybe those two will get on somehow. Maybe they'll plot against. I
I mean,
don't
I
know.
think what I was more of saying it was like, is there room for both of them in this town? Is kind of what I meant. Like two sort of
Ah,
super
okay.
bitch
Yeah,
characters. Yeah, yeah.
I
You
think they should
reckon?
be friends. I think they
Yeah,
should be friends, Cindy
it'd
and
be
Nicola.
interesting to sort of
Maybe
see.
Nicola
Yeah,
will come across Cindy with nowhere to go after the Christmas Day
yeah,
reveal, and she's trying to make friends in the community. She
yeah.
might come across her on the park bench and be like, "Oh, you're part of Reels Beals, aren't you?" She's trying to, mingle with everybody, and they'll become friends, and she'll take her in or something.
Interested in taking down the local competition and knowing that she's got beef with Kathy, who owns the Albert. Cindy would quite happily do
Hmm.
that, I think, wouldn't she?
Oh,
After the
there we
revelations.
go.
Ooh,
That could work.
interesting. So we'll see where Nicola goes in the coming weeks, but I'm very excited about her. Great
Yes.
character, brilliant. Uh, so Phil,
Yes.
I almost cried watching Phil this week. I'm just going to say that out there, almost because I don't cry watching TV, but almost. Very
Just wait
close.
till I send you that Bluey episode.
Oh
You'll be roaring.
yeah. She retold me about an episode of Bluey that she watched with her daughter this week, and it made both of them cry, which
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe, quite frankly, what has happened to you. But Phil struggling
Philth.
with alcohol this week, I thought was absolutely fantastic. It is a credit to Steve McFadden that Phil Mitchell is such a bastard at times and has
Mm,
been for the majority of his time on the show that he is still able to elicit sympathy for the character at those sorts of moments, isn't it? Like,
100%. Is it because we know Phil so well, though, as well, that
yeah,
we feel more
I think so, yeah,
sympathy?
but we know that, and because we know Phil so well, we know that because the thing with Phil this week is that he wasn't sort of bolshy. He wasn't like he was a little bit with Jay, but not to the point where I kind of thought with this storyline, what we'd get was a lot of kind of what Linda's doing at the moment, like pushing everyone away, sort of having a go, being
Hmm.
like really grumpy, argumentative Phil. But actually, what we've got for the most part is Phil really, really sad and really, really down on
Mm.
himself. And people are sort of going, "You're not yourself. You're not shouting at me. Like, what is wrong with you?" Which I think is such a really sort of quite a clever direction to take him in because it's a different side to Phil that we're not used to.
I
And
feel like as soon as Phil steps in his house, he just gets teary. It's
yeah,
like something to do with his house makes him instantly sad.
yeah,
And maybe that's
suddenly,
why he started taking all the photos down and stuff. 'Cause I feel like even though he's not quite himself on the square, he can still put
mm,
on a bit of a mask that everything's okay. But then
yeah,
it's like as soon as he gets in his house and he's on his own, that loneliness is just swamping him.
that scene between him and Sharon halfway through the week where they were sort of talking and it was like really, really emotional and Sharon was sort of
Hmm.
trying to give him her full attention whilst getting the phone calls off Teddy. It's an uncharacteristically selfless part of Phil that he's sort of just like, yeah, I'm, go with Teddy. I don't mind. That's okay. Obviously, he does mind and he's heartbroken about it, but he's not trying to stop them from being together. That's Nicola's job. But Phil isn't doing that, which again
No.
is an indication, I think, of how sad he is at the moment.
Yeah. It's like he just doesn't have the fight in him, does he? He's just
No,
not
it's just gone out
he's
of him
not got it.
completely.
Mm.
It's really, really. I love this story for Phil. It's really, really, really interesting. And Nicola presenting him with the booze this week gave him an absolute sort of trial and a struggle. And did you think at any point he was going to slip? Did you think he was going to take the booze at
Yes.
any point? Yeah, so did I, to the point it was one of those rare moments when that scene aired of him like just sat there with the bottle and he's going to drink it, he's going to drink it, one of those times where I was actually talking to the television.
So was I. I'm
Yeah,
like, Phil,
no, Phil,
no,
don't do
don't
it,
do
Phil,
it.
don't do
Phil,
it, Phil,
don't
don't do
do
it,
it.
come on, Phil,
I
you've
was
got this, you've
literally
got,
the
yeah.
same.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
And then he went and
yeah,
stood up and poured it down the sink and I actually stood up and applauded. Amazing. Yeah,
you.
genuinely utterly
Yeah.
relieved because we know what a huge thing alcohol is for Phil, so for him to do that, isn't it weird that out of all of the addicts this week, he was actually showing the most strength out of any of them? Like,
Mm,
yes, Lauren pulled the pills down the sink in the end, but Phil was sort of there, like on the level
mhm.
throughout the entire week, had his temptations, but never gave in to them.
I think had he not seen Linda being the way she was this week,
Yeah,
he probably would have caved. But I think seeing
I
Linda
think
and
so.
seeing like her being humiliated, I think it was more of a pride thing as well,
Yeah,
potentially, that he's like, I don't want to be embarrassing myself in front
yeah,
of everyone. And so I think had he not seen Linda this week, he might have actually took a swig from that bottle.
I think
But
so.
also,
Yeah,
by the way, why did Sharon just leave it in the house with him when he said, "Oh, I'm going to give it to Billy"? Like, Sharon, take it. Or was she
yeah,
just like,
I
well, you know
know.
what? It's not my place to.
Well, I think there was a bit of that. I think also there is a section where you've got to sort of just like trust them, even if you're concerned about
Mm,
them. I feel like taking it out, ripping it out of his hands at that moment, I don't think she would have got a great reaction out of him. So I think it
true.
was about trying because she at that moment was trying to say, "I'm here for you. I'm totally here for you. Whenever you need me, I'm there for you." And then turning around and saying, "Well, I'm not trusting you with that for a moment. Give me that bottle, you alcoholic." I don't think that would have helped her in that moment. I think she had a bit of an internal struggle as to whether to take it or not. But I think that
Mm.
she did the right thing for herself at that moment, and probably the right thing for Phil at that moment. Because again,
Essentially, but it was quite a risk just
it
like
was.
leaving it there for him, weren't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. But I think you're right. I think Linda was the catalyst, as we'd love to say,
Catalyst.
uh, to Phil not drinking because he knows what he's like when
Yeah.
he's drunk. We've seen Phil destroy his businesses with cranes and stuff when he's drunk. He's insane when he's in that state. And he saw Linda doing that this week. And Linda is who we shall turn to now. So, on to the final section of this week. Before we talk about Linda, I want to do a little shout out to Harry Farr, who plays Ollie Carter, who I think, given the material that he's been given during this storyline, I mean, how old must he be? Like 8 or something like that at the very oldest? Like, I know kids are normally a little
Mm.
bit older than the character they are on screen. My God, he's good for a kid his age, isn't he? Like, he's been given such strong
Yeah.
material, quite tough material, I think, for a kid his age, and he's so good. Bless
Yeah,
him.
he's good.
He
And
really,
he's
really is.
grown. I was
Hasn't he
like,
just?
you
Kids
shut
grow.
up,
Kids grow. They do
don't
this,
they?
Ree. You
Wow.
watch. Your daughter will be six
I
foot tall
know.
by this time next year. You wait.
Honestly wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised with the rate she's going, actually, yeah.
tell you.
But yeah, bless Ollie. He is really good, actually. We never see Annie these days, though.
Oh,
We
she'll her
never
time will
see her.
come.
Oh, we saw her once, actually, this week. But yeah, briefly.
Yeah, she's too old to. She's too young to be so directly affected by this storyline on screen. I think at the moment, but I was
Yeah,
just so
honestly,
stuck because the thing is, Ollie is such an adorable little kid as well. So every time that he gets
yeah.
hurt, I'm like, oh, Ollie! I always want to reach for the screen and protect him. He's so cute.
That is
Um,
true, actually. Your heart breaks, doesn't
it
it, when
does,
he
doesn't
says
it?
something like that? Yeah,
Because
definitely.
Linda has absolutely messed him up, hasn't she? Really, like she's managed to make a kid Ollie's age terrified of Father Christmas because she's drunkenly babbled to him about Nish and said there's a bad man after them, and then mentioned in the same sentence that Father Christmas is coming, and Ollie's just put two and two together and decided that Father Christmas is a
Hmm.
serial killer. It's awful.
Oh,
Bless him.
and the other bit when he said it, when Johnny was trying to say we need to get things back to normal, and Ollie
This
were
is
like,
normal.
this is normal.
Honest to
Oh,
God, that line landed like a ton of bricks, didn't it? Like, I
didn't
was
it?
like, wow, that's a statement from a kid. That is normal to him.
Hmm.
Just like this constant fear, being scared of his mummy, all these strange, because
Oh,
obviously Olive feels all this differently to the majority of the people that live in that pub.
yeah.
So all these strange smells and feelings and weird people, and he's just terrified, bless him, and that's normal for him. Sort yourself out, Linda Carter, for Christ's sake. Honest to God.
Well, yes.
I mean, that
Mm.
said, didn't Kelly Bright deserve an Oscar this week? I thought she was
Oh,
spectacular.
wow. Wow.
Like, wow.
Literally. She's
Amazing performance.
incredible.
She's so
Yeah.
good at being drunk, isn't she? And this,
She's
I
so
think,
good.
I mean, it has to be, I think, the lowest we've seen Linda. And I think to be able to actually make that happen on screen and for it to
Hmm.
be evident that this is Linda at rock bottom compared to where we've seen Linda in the past when she's been drunk. Because Linda's had this alcoholism storyline for about 2.5, like, if not longer. No, it must be since no,
I
5 years
think
now. 5 years now because she
Elaine
was
said
out.
five
Yeah,
years.
yeah, because she was
Yeah.
pissed on the boat, wasn't she? So like
Yeah.
well over 5 years she's been doing this. So for this to be visibly rock bottom for her, all credit to Kelly Bright for being able to pull that off because I thought that was amazing.
Definitely. 100%.
But Linda at rock bottom is not a pretty thing, is it?
No, it's not. Um, one of my major gripes with it this week was Cat. I'm going to throw
Yeah, I
that one
saw
out
this. I
there.
saw this a bit online. Yeah,
Oh,
I
did you? I've not seen it online.
yeah, a
I
few
think
people
she
said
was
this.
well. Mm. Imagine when she was with Phil that somebody was talking to Phil in that way if he'd fallen
Mm,
off the wagon. Cat would be the first one. In fact, I dare say in any other circumstance, Cat would be somebody who'd be there saying, don't talk to them like that, they've got
mm,
a problem or something. But I thought she was way OTT on how harsh she were being. I mean, don't get me wrong. When we saw Linda really giving it to Alfie in the shop, which was
yeah,
so uncalled for,
of
I
course. Yeah,
understood it in that moment. But then to carry it on and then like be laughing at her, I thought were quite nasty. And I
yeah.
don't think Kat is. I know that she's got that. It didn't seem like out of character per se, but it did seem a bit
Mm,
below the belt for Kat to be reacting the
yeah.
way that she did to Linda. I thought.
Yeah.
Don't know. Did you think that?
No, I know what you mean. It didn't stand out to me particularly because I kind of got that Kat was being really possibly slightly over defensive of Alfie at that moment.
Yeah.
So she'd been because bear in mind the joke the jibe that Linda made about him not being able to get it up so completely out of order and unnecessary for her to say that at
Yeah.
that moment. So I feel like Kat was sort of because it's something that kind of indirectly affects her as well. It's sort of like a comment on their relationship. So I feel like maybe she was just sort of still stinging from that. And she's
Mm.
sort of looking at Linda and thinking, who the hell are you to judge anybody on anything right now? You know, I'm not saying she was in the right whatsoever, but I sort of got where her brain, why it was
Mm.
Kat doing that this week as opposed to anybody else. I
Yeah, no,
get what
I
you mean
still think it was too far, but yeah, I understand. Like someone like Mer, I would have found it
though.
more believable if it would have
Mm,
been Mer making those kinds of comments and laughing. But with Cat, I was just like, oh, I'm surprised at you, Cat, for being like that. But
mm.
hey ho.
Well, either way,
Oh,
Lynn, go on.
sorry, I was just going to say, she's right. There were a few times this week. I think one occasion she'd wet herself, but are we to believe that she'd number two'd herself?
I thought it was kind of supposed to be left to our imagination what she'd done. I didn't.
Okay.
I kind of thought throughout the week that she's wet herself and it's just been hanging around in her wet jogging bottoms throughout the entire week as she's been getting progressively more drunk. But the way that Elaine sort of looked down and said messed as
Mm.
opposed to wet maybe. Either way,
Yeah.
like that's low for this is
Hmm.
it's just depressing to watch Linda in this state. Like she is a shell of her former self at the moment. And it's fascinating to sort of see, Lauren, when she was talking to her, was talking about like how, the poor me act is so sort of trite with alcoholics, but Linda was doing that in bucket loads this week, wasn't she?
Wasn't she?
Like
Yeah.
turning around to Elaine and saying, "Where have you been? You left me on my own." Like it's blaming everybody else around her apart from herself because she's become, I thought this week, almost quite infantilized, hasn't she? Like she's become such a
Yes,
child this
definitely.
week.
I
Like,
actually thought like the way that they've been trying to look after her was reminding me of looking after my toddler, where
mm,
they've lost all inhibitions, they don't understand danger, they've got no awareness of keeping yourself safe.
yeah,
They just want to run off and be independent and careless, but then they want to be looked after. I mean, like Elaine had to bath her, didn't she? Like
that
she
scene was
literally had to
that
clean
scene
her.
was tough, wasn't it? I thought that scene was really, really strong
Very.
from both of them. Actually, I thought I love Elaine, I really, really do, and every single time that we get a little bit of an emotional scene for Elaine, it's like we
Mm.
scratch a little bit more at her. Like it's really
Do you
satisfying
know
to
what
watch
she's
Elaine on screen at
do
the
you know
minute.
what she's good at actually, Harriet Thorpe? And I actually thought it would Phil as well this week. Saying so much without saying anything at all, like just
Yeah,
saying it all in the eyes a
yeah,
lot, I've found.
yes,
Her and
yes,
Phil
yeah,
this week, her and Sue,
yeah.
like really strong. Because
Mm.
sometimes that is a lot more powerful than saying, it's like we all know we can see exactly what you're thinking in your eyes. That's quite something from an actor, isn't it?
Well, Kelly Bright did that as well this week. When she was sat there like drunkenly ranting at Phil, saying all the things I've gone through. I've had Mick,
Yeah,
I've had, and then she sort
yeah,
of went to say Keanu, and then sort of looked at Phil like, and you knew
yes,
exactly what she meant at that moment. I thought that was a
yeah,
really
that's
sort of
true.
that was a really nice moment. I liked that a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but honest to God, it was heartbreaking watching Linda this week. It really was. Like, and do you think it's fair to say the worst we've seen her in terms of how she is with other people? Like, she's done a lot of sort of burning bridges, but I thought Alfie sort of summed it up quite well. She's burning bridges while people are still standing on them. Like, she was just
Yeah,
awful to
yeah,
everybody this week. The scene with
yeah. I
Johnny,
think she could. Johnny, Sharon, when
yeah. Oh, that
it
scene
was
where she was
like Phil
screaming at
didn't want to
Sharon
let
outside the house.
you
Yeah.
witch. Mm, yeah, I mean, I think if I'm honest, I think she could have been a little bit worse, but I think we have seen
She
her
could have been a
being
little, in terms of,
compared to what Linda's like normally. She's not drinking. Yeah,
they were
horrendous.
yeah, I mean they were lucky that the sick stuff didn't get unearthed again this week, the state that Linda was in, because she was at least have the wherewithal about not to say anything, just hint at it very heavily to those that know, which at this point
Yes,
is half the cast, so she
is
should have
half
been
the
all right,
square.
to
So
be fair.
luckily, she's not got to be too quiet anyway these
I
days.
mean,
The
we
scene with
wish.
Bernie.
Yeah.
Sorry, the scene with Bernie
Oh,
this week where Bernie's
yeah.
pretty much said, I forgive you because I thought,
Yes.
yeah,
So, are we satisfied with that? Because we have been
I
saying for a
actually
few weeks,
was.
yeah, weird that, isn't it? I was sort of like, we've been saying for weeks now, I don't know how this Bernie stuff ends. I don't know
Mm,
where Bernie sort of goes from here. For Bernie actually to look at Linda and say, it's like Linda is punishing herself more than Bernie could ever punish her. I think was maybe where
yes.
she was coming from with that. And so for Bernie to sort of see that she had a small part to play in putting Linda in this state. Because at one point it was getting to the stage with Linda would be fine, right, I'm not going to drink, and then she'd see Bernie and Bernie would just like give her a wicked smile and she'd reach for a bottle of vodka immediately.
Mm,
And I think Bernie was aware of her small role in that. Like, yes, it's all on Linda, absolutely. But Bernie was able to sort of step away from it and go, do you know what? Nothing I could say or do to you is worse than what I'm looking at right now. So let's just move on. That did feel weirdly satisfying to me. And I didn't think they'd be able to manage that.
And I think as well, the important thing for Bernie was, I don't want you. She were also thinking, you can stop using us as an excuse as well, because I don't
Mm,
want to be part of the reason why you're letting your kids down. Because at the end of the
yeah.
day, Bernie's, I think, seen Ollie and Annie are suffering from out. I think everyone's just like, wow, Linda, like, let's not, I'm not going to add any fuel to your fire. This is all your own doing. Don't go
Yeah.
around blaming me, which is essentially what Bernie said. And I think, let's be real, unless Bernie's going to go to the
I
police,
don't think
you
she will
can't
now. I don't
decide
think there's
to,
any reason for her to
no.
do that now. And let's be honest, she is more like if anybody, maybe Sharon is the only other person that she
Hmm.
might have like uber issues with still at this point. Everybody else, like I think she kind of gets that they were sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Linda and
Yeah.
Sharon are sort of like the main bones of contention for her, and she's looking at
Hmm.
Linda, this mess that she has become, and I think that she's sort of ready to go. Yeah, do you know what? Fine, we'll move on from this. I think that's about as good an effort and as believable as they could have made that
Yeah.
part of the storyline to be concluded. I really did. Did you agree with Sharon chucking her out, or do you think that she could have stepped up
Yeah.
more? Yeah,
No, when she's got Albie in the house.
yeah,
I would, to be honest, I was thinking like if I had a friend who was in this state as bad as Linda, I know it's gonna may sound awful, but if I've got my daughter at home, I would not be inviting a friend in that
no,
state when I've got a kid in the
no,
house who, especially who's essentially going to be scared. So the fact that, and then she even considered letting her in. It was really Zach who put his foot down.
mm,
Linda managed to get Sharon's house robbed and all Albie's Christmas presents. Sharon was still considering letting her in the house. Like, well, fair play to Sharon for being such
yeah,
a good friend, actually.
yeah,
So the fact that she even considered letting her back in at all after that, yeah, I think I think she should have said no maybe 2 steps before that happened. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was just really heartbreaking to watch. I know there's some people that have kind of been watching this and sort of thinking I'm kind of done with Linda being an alcoholic now, but I feel like that's exactly the point. Like this isn't something that can just be
yeah,
switched off and switched on. Like this is something that affects somebody throughout their
hmm,
entire lives, which I think is why the Phil stuff was so satisfying this week. Because arguably the Phil being an alcoholic thing has never really been switched off. It's just sort of
mm,
dimmed full time. And I think that's
mm,
why that moment with Phil and the bottle during this week was so powerful. And I think that's what we're going to end up with Linda. Like she can, this side of her is going to kind of come and go.
hmm.
Um, but where we go from here, Elaine has turned round to her and said, "Right, you're going to rehab, or you're not coming back. That's it." Um, so does she go? Is she ready to take that step?
No, because I think she's still in. She was very self-pitying this week, so I think
Mm,
she's just going to end up potentially being on the street. I don't know. Like it was. Do you know what? EastEnders genuinely opened my eyes this week to how addiction affects the people around them because
yeah.
I've often watched this and said Elaine needs to step up more. Elaine needs to like said it and thinking like Elaine should be doing more. She's a mum.
Mm,
She's not being a good mum. She's not helping her enough. But this week I'm like, what more can she actually do
yeah.
there? Like,
It's
what can she
yeah.
do? She brought that random man into the house.
Yeah.
No consideration for her
No.
two young kids who are in that room. He walks out of the room doing his chat. I do genuinely think he must have peed in a bucket
Oh
somewhere
yeah,
or
like
something in the bedroom. I don't think
completely.
anything
Yeah.
untoward
No,
happened.
but it could have
The
done.
fact remains it could have
It could
easily,
have done.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So at what
was
point do you stop enabling somebody to bring that addiction into the home
yeah.
like that? Like there's gotta be a cut off.
She's not going to get any better with us keeping this situation as it is right
Yeah.
now. You have to sort of push her out of the nest
Hmm.
and sort of let her make her own decision. What's the moment when she went off? Because obviously she passed out on the bench. And then she came
Yes.
back the next day with no shoes on. I just my shoe. I don't know where my shoe is. I thought she implied to Elaine that she'd slept with some randomer because she said she was talking about going back with a nice man, a very, very nice man. Like, but
I think that says a lot. Like we don't actually know, and Linda doesn't even know what happened
no,
to her. Is she going to end up pregnant or something and not
I hope
aware?
not. Yeah,
I don't think she will, but could have easily
yeah,
happened is the point, isn't it? And she might not even remember,
yeah. And
especially with the state that she's been in.
yeah, so she'd need testing for not just pregnancy in that kind of situation. You know, she could have gone anywhere and she's got
Potentially.
no idea. Terrifying stuff. But what I would
Mm.
say is there have been many, 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 many hints online that Monday next week is not to be missed with regards to the Linda storyline.
Okay.
So some sort of big event is going to occur in the Linda story. We're not sure where. We're not sure why. We don't know what's going to happen, but Monday is one to watch. So watch this space. We'll talk about it next week. Gold Star this week, Ree.
Very torn, but I think
Mm,
you're going to give it to the other. So I'm going to give mine to Linda this week. Well, Kelly Bright, really, but
yeah, more
Linda.
than Linda doesn't deserve a gold star, but
No,
Kelly Bright
Linda
definitely
definitely
does.
doesn't, but
No,
yeah,
no gold star for Linda. I'm going to give mine to Phil because I thought that Phil's stuff was absolutely pitch perfect
yeah,
this week. And actually, the whole week with this addiction sort of theme throughout the week
yeah.
was so well pitched and so well put
Mhm.
together and so well directed and written. Bravo. Absolutely bravo, EastEnders. Well done.
So
Right, ladies
Linda
and
and Phil.
gents. Yes, Linda's and Phil for the gold stars this week. Let us know in the comment section where your gold stars are going to. And as usual, ladies and gentlemen, we'll finish the podcast with some comments from you.
got a comment from Sarah Foster who says, "What an amazing week. The depiction of Linda's addiction is so heartbreaking. I love all the different perspectives from the different characters too. What a performance from all involved, especially Kelly Bright and Charlie Stuff. I've not been the biggest fan of Johnny since his return, but I cried with him this week."
I would agree with that. I wasn't the biggest fan of new Johnny when he arrived, purely because he was being written as sort of really kind of
Yeah,
bolshy and quite aggressive and everything. I've now mellowed to him, and let's be honest,
yeah.
who wouldn't be acting like that with Linda this week? In all honesty, would they? So
Do you
he's
know
good.
what? I was very close to giving Johnny my gold star as well this
Were
week, just for
you?
doing such a stellar job of looking after his little brother and sister,
I
like,
know
and
his the
taking
scene with
that
him and
role
that.
on.
Yeah, the scene with him and Annie was quite cute, wasn't it? Wasn't it when
Yeah.
he was taking him sweet shopping? Yeah, that was good.
Hmm.
Likes that a lot. Steph Cripps says Kelly Bright deserves all the awards. She does drunk acting like nobody else. This was heartbreaking to watch. Seeing Mickey again this week has been awesome. The scenes between him and Mo were amazing. Yes, I agree with that. So it's hard to like everything that happened this week. It's hard to you kind of easy to forget Mickey arrived for 2 episodes randomly this week as
Yeah.
well. It was nice.
Got a comment from Brandon Johnny says one of the best episodes in a while. The focus on the three characters and their addiction issues and bringing them together was incredible writing. The juxtaposition of Phil being able to resist his addiction in the final scene when we see the others succumb to their addiction was so well done.
Mm. I totally agree with that. Like, I loved that Phil was the strong one out of that when so many times over the years, Phil has been the weak one when it comes to addiction. Like, normally there have been times when he's been really going through it that he can just turn at a dime and just be like, oh, screw it,
Mm,
I'll drink then, and not care about the consequences. So for Phil to be sort of the most reasonable out of all of the addicts, considering what we have seen Phil do when he's in that
yeah.
state in the past, like, blowing up the Vic and
Mm,
destroying all of his businesses with a car and a digger. Like, fair play. I
mm,
absolutely loved it. And I would say actually that this has been such a strong era for Phil. Like, he's not
yeah.
necessarily been, like a main character in all of the stories, but I feel like he's become a much more human character in this era. Like, with the addition of
Yes.
George and having a mate and everything, it's made Phil a bit more human again, which he hasn't been for quite a while before this era.
Agreed,
Mm.
actually, yes. Steve
Uh,
McFadden's doing a fantastic job and will
yes, he
continue to
is.
do so.
Final comment. Maggie Elizabeth Walsher says Kelly is doing an amazing job. They all are. I really felt Elaine's despair when she found that guy with Linda. It's so important that families of addicts are seen and have their stories heard, and EastEnders have done an incredible job of showing that this week.
I agree.
Absolutely.
It's real. I feel like I've had an epiphany watching it this week. I've never
Mm,
considered how hard it must be for the people around the addicts. If anything, I've just been like, why aren't you doing more for them? How
yeah.
can they if with that far gone like Linda is?
And it's interesting, like Ollie's line about this is normal, sort of kind of
Mm,
put into perspective everything that people that we've kind of thought in the past of like, why isn't anyone stopping Linda at this point? Like, why are people
yeah.
just sitting and getting drunk there? Because this is just normal Linda now. Like, I think that's the vibe they've
Hmm.
been going for, that it's just been like, no, no, we can't help her. This is something that she
Yeah.
has to do on her own. So we go about our own lives as normal, and that's just Linda the alcoholic over there. Really sort of
So
really
sad.
well done. I really do think.
Hmm.
So that's it for this week. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do the following.
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on Twitter and Instagram at E20 After Dark. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. You can listen to us on Apple and all your favourite podcast sites. Drop us an email at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us a gingerbread latte, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20 After Dark.
I have made it a Christmas resolution this year. I'm going to have an eggnog. I've never had eggnog before in my entire life. I've never had
I
it.
haven't either.
I'm
What even
going.
is eggnog?
I
What
don't know.
actually
It's like
is it?
Advocar. Well, I don't even know what that
Oh,
is, to be fair. Yeah,
Advocar, right.
I've never
I've
had
had
it.
Advocar. Is that all
Yeah.
it is?
Well, I think I assume there's egg in it as well.
Is it Advocar? And you know what? Advocar is just like alcoholic custard.
Is it? That
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like the best drink in the
yeah,
world.
yeah. Have it chilled as well would be the best way. Is a snowball Advocar and lemonade? Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if the.
Snowball.
Yeah,
I'm
either
pretty
way.
sure that's Advocar and lemonade. Anyway, yeah.
My
Don't know what
shifts are
eggnog actually
well.
is though.
Put it like this: my shifts are kind to me over Christmas this year, so I'm going to be doing all of that in wide abundance, and
Try
I'm going.
all of the
To,
Christmas tipples,
yeah,
Rob. Try them all this year. Why
as we
not?
say, after coming out of an episode talking about alcoholism, I'm going to get really drunk this Christmas.
Didn't think that one through.
Uh,
Yeah, okay.
oh, there you go. That's
I'll stay
Arthur with her.
sober so it's
Life.
balanced,
There we
okay?
go. Then you can sort
There
of
we
help
go.
me, and I'll sort of wander around saying, "Where's my shoe?" And you can give me a bath and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll
Mm.
do that. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, okay,
That'll
okay.
be a Christmas treat for you. Right, ladies and gents, that's it for this week. Monday's episode, apparently not to be missed. We'll be talking about that and everything else that's going on in next week's EastEnders at the same time next week. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
See you later. Goodbye.
Bye.